Oh yeah. Hey guys, and welcome to another fantastic, off-the-charts, post-TLC edition of the Never Over Live Hot Tag. I am undisputedly the face of Never Over Live, Ben, and I want to thank you for joining us. We're here to recap everything that happened in WWE this week. Pretty busy week, just got off of SmackDown Live's brand exclusive pay-per-view TLC, and Raw was pretty good this week. We got some developments on 205 Live, so let's jump right into it. So fresh off the heels of WWETLC, we started the show with AJ coming out to the ring, announcing that their match with James Ellsworth, that James Ellsworth earned during the contract ladder match, would not be happening last night on Tuesday Night SmackDown. AJ suffered a foot injury at WWETLC, actually during the post-match celebration, oddly enough, so he was unable to compete. That set up a match between Dean Ambrose and The Miz for the Intercontinental Championship that would involve some shenanigans, but I'll talk about that in a minute. Heath Slater and Rhino enacted their rematch clause against the new Wyatt family, which saw Randy and Bray dominate yet again. I am so excited to see where this continues to go. I'm surprised it's not done yet. I don't want to believe that they're actually going to end it at some point. I just want to live in this fantasy world where this continues to be a piece of fiction, that Randy's actually a part of the supernatural aspect of the Wyatt family. Anyway, it's great. Happy to see them retain the title. Not quite sure who's going to eventually be the ones that take those titles away, because the domination they've been laying on the SmackDown Tag Team division thus far has been quite harrowing. So it'll be interesting to see how the Tag Team division shapes up going forward. A women's division match was scheduled between Carmella and Natalya, and then Nikki Bella was also involved. Carmella's still trying to say that Nikki Bella was actually attacked by Natalya at Survivor Series, but then Nikki didn't do anything about it, and so I'm not really sure. I think Eva Marie is going to end up being involved, if I had to make a guess, but it's a thing that's... SmackDown did a thing. Kind of a weird night for SmackDown. In other tag team action, we saw the Hype Bros take on the Ascension, with the Hype Bros going over, which just makes me feel sad. The Ascension were so good in NXT, and they're just getting buried. I liken them to the Club. Their SmackDown's the Club, in which I just want to see them succeed, but they just keep getting blown out. It's so sad. In a rematch from WWETLC, Baron Corbin defeated Kalisto, making quick work of him, and that is seemingly the end of that. I'm not quite sure where either man's going to go from here. I was hoping that Baron would be propelled into the Intercontinental Championship picture, but that doesn't seem to be the case, unfortunately. I guess there's a long time between now and the Royal Rumble, which would be SmackDown's next pay-per-view, so I suppose we'll have to wait till then to find out where these two are going to end up. Chad Gable making quick work of Tyler Breeze, which is, once again, ties in the tag team division in some aspects for whatever reason. I think Chad Gable didn't need the win here. American Alpha, everybody seems to be fully on board with them being one of the top, if not the top tag team on SmackDown Live, so it really widens that gap, widens that spectrum for the tag team division with a win like this. New SmackDown Live Women's Champion, Alexa Bliss, came out and decided to celebrate her inaugural SmackDown Live Women's Championship reign with a celebration that was very quickly interrupted by the former champion, Becky Lynch. Becky wanted to instigate her rematch clause last night on SmackDown Live, and Alexa said, "No way, Jose, I'm a bounce," and she left on out of there, and that will probably culminate at the Rumble, I would imagine. SmackDown Live's main event saw The Miz defeat Dean Ambrose for the Intercontinental Championship retention, with James Ellsworth actually running interference unintentionally. Dean and James just not on the same page. James Ellsworth shouldn't be on any page. He should be not on any screen either. That was a good sequitur. That was a great sequitur. Good job, me. Raw opened in actually fairly interesting fashion, with Seth Rollins calling out Triple H, which is something that we've joked about an awful lot over the last couple of months since the whole Universal title picture shaped up after Finn Balor had to drop the belt, with Triple H attacking Seth Rollins specifically, it seemed. Seth came out last Monday on Raw and specifically called out Triple H, wanting some answers and wanting maybe a match of some sort, in which Kevin Owens came out, said that he's the guy, that he took it for himself, and set up a match with the Big Show for Seth Rollins, in which Big Show actually chokeslammed Kevin Owens and counted himself out, so Seth got the win. Interesting that Seth would bring up Triple H at this point. Whether they're setting up for something at Rumble or Mania is yet to be seen. Maybe Triple H screws Seth at the Rumble. Nice. Just to wait and find out. In Raw Cruiserweight action, we saw Jack Gallagher defeat Daivari, and then Daivari, I think, did some heelish stuff after the match, attacking Jack Gallagher, if I remember correctly. Jack Gallagher with a great showing. Good to see him back. I was excited to see him during the Cruiserweight Classic, so it's good to see him get some action on WWE television. In a match taking place for the first time ever on WWE television, Kevin Owens defeated Sami Zayn for no title because Mick Foley said that Sami Zayn couldn't face Braun Strowman, so he said you can face Kevin Owens, which doesn't make a lot of sense. There was actually no Braun Strowman on the show, which is weird. And we've seen this match a million times at this point. Like, it's a great match, and I'd like to see it like two or 3 years from now at WrestleMania or something like that, but God, they should have sent Sami to SmackDown. He could be doing wonderful things for that Intercontinental Championship picture. Rich Swann defeated TJ Perkins. TJ Perkins now suffering his, I think, somewhere in the echelon of about 50th loss so far on WWE programming. He has just absolutely died since the Cruiserweight Classic has ended. It's really poor to see, but I'm over on Rich Swann, so it's good to see him get the win. 2 matches on Raw for the Cruiserweights, and then 205 Live on SmackDown. A lot of action for the Cruiserweights, much deservedly so make sure that you pay attention to them. Bayley defeated Alicia Fox in a feud that Mark Henry and Titus O'Neil went at it in singles action. Titus actually promoting this fight with flyers around the back saying it was the tussle in Texas, and they did a tail of the tape at the start of the match, and I really liked the presentation. I like the fact that, like, Titus hyping it the whole show, handing out flyers, everything, maybe kind of invested in it a little bit, and then seeing the tail of the tape, the build-up right before, maybe really care, despite the fact that it was like a 10-minute match when Mark Henry World's Strongest slams Titus and then pinned him, and it was over in no time. But I thought it was great. I think they should do it going forward. If Titus can make a gimmick out of hyping his own matches like that, I think he's got something there that can really break through a little bit. I mean, if Vince will let him, because Vince probably still hates him for that one time. Chris Jericho got another shot at the United States Championship Monday Night on Raw against the big dog Roman Reigns. Kevin Owens would come out and actually arguably cost Chris Jericho the United States Championship in very interesting turn of events. Kevin Owens has been trying to reimburse Chris for everything he's done for him. He understands that Chris is a valuable asset to him, and so it's been interesting seeing KO play the beta in the alpha beta role that typically takes place in a twosome friendship with Jericho now assuming the role of alpha. So I don't know. Everything that Jericho's doing despite this has been still incredible. Monday night he was great, and that match with Roman Reigns was really good. Raw overall was really good, but that match in particular made them both look very, very good, and I hope that this trend continues. Very interesting to see how the Kevin Owens-Jericho feud ultimately culminates. So all evening they kind of did this vignette backstage thing with Enzo and Cass, Rusev and Lana, which then involved a personal disagreement between Rusev and Lana took off the ring, and Enzo was trying to be White Knight and got pulled. Anyway, if you've seen it, you saw it, you probably have an opinion on it. I loved it. I thought, like, all of the fiction of it all, I thought the fact that, like, it was obviously not believable and we all kind of knew what was coming. I thought Enzo was incredible deliverer. He made it feel a bit real, and this is what I've been talking about, like with SmackDown and the Wides and everything like that. Like, this segment was corny and it was cliche and it was cheesy and it was like but it was so good because the execution was great. It's kind of like the way we all cheer Chris Jericho when we know he's trying to be a heel, and we know he's, like, especially early on when he was trying to be this, like, kind of douchey, heely, whiny we see these evolutions as they're taking in their storytelling, at least kind of in the middle of the card, where they can kind of take those risks with, say, the Wyatts, and now this weird cuck storyline with Rusev and Lana and Enzo and everything like that. And I don't know, to me, this is exactly what I've been looking for. This fiction, this level of fiction, kind of like a slight kayfabe that brings everything back to it. It's really exciting to me, and I really hope they continue to drive stories like this in the future. Cesaro and Sheamus took on the Club for kind of a number one contenders match to see who would take on New Day next week on Raw for the tag team titles. And just to note that if New Day successfully defend their titles next week on Raw, Monday at midnight Eastern next week, if they can make it past that threshold, they will then tie or beat. That's kind of the point. That's the tipping point as to whether or not they are the longest reigning World Tag Team Champions of all time. Anyway, it went to no contest after New Day got involved and DQ'd. It kind of all boiled down, so there was no particular DQ. So next Monday, triple threat tag team action. The New Day defend their belt against Cesaro and Sheamus and the Club. One thing that would be kind of cool, just to get the belts off New Day so that there's no shenanigans, if one team just jobbed out to the other real quick and then pulled the belts off the New Day. God, that would kill me. And now we go to the close of the show, which was Charlotte coming out and calling out Rick, because last week on Raw, Rick came out and congratulated Sasha after the kind of the street fight, I guess you could call it, between the two women for the Women's Championship, which saw Sasha regain the belt over Charlotte. I'm not saying currently. Right now, she's done incredible things for the short time that she's been on the main roster, and even her stuff in NXT as well. But given her potential, given her youth, and given her trajectory, her projected trajectory at the moment, it could very well be said that Charlotte will be the greatest women's wrestler of all time. And last night helped cement that in some ways. Charlotte flipped so fast between like trying to be remorseful and forgiving of her father Rick, and the delivery and the bite that were in those lines where she was saying like you were never there, like I'm supposed to be the girl. Do you have any idea how hard it was being your daughter? Nobody knows what it's like being Ric Flair's daughter. I do. It's like every line she hit with perfection. The crowd was horrible, but if I sat here with my jaw dropped and like I hate that, like Mick Foley coddles the women to an abysmal level, to a depressing level, to a sad level. Charlotte alone helps me believe that there is so much potential in the women's division if they double down on themselves. Charlotte has continued to evolve, whereas I think Sasha has stayed relatively the same, and this whole like empowerment, like she's very one-dimensional, whereas Charlotte is proving that she can go from good to bad to ugly and everything in between, and I'm astounded. Incredible work last night, ultimately setting up for a 30-minute Iron Woman match at WWE Roadblock, end of the line, and I can't wait. When I think about Charlotte and Sasha now, I think about Triple H and Shawn Michaels, where they don't need a belt now. Like, they have a feud here that can surpass belts. I don't think Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are at the same level, but I think Charlotte and Sasha have a feud in itself that's so personal that it doesn't need the Women's Championship. I know I kind of went on a rant here, but Charlotte's performance on Monday night, like, blew me away, and it got me excited. It got me excited for character development, and particularly in the women's wrestling division, and I hope that SmackDown can kind of take some notes, because they're the two best are at the top of the card, and Natalya is a good in-ring worker as well. But yeah, incredible work from Charlotte Monday night. Shifting things over to 205 Live really quick. There were 4 matches in the card. Noam Dar defeated Cedric Alexander, and before the match, and what's been alluded to over the last couple of weeks is that Cedric Alexander and Alicia Fox are kind of an item. And anyway, when Noam Dar won and he was doing a post-match interview, they asked him how he felt, and he's like, I just cashed the big money check. I'm here, I just got to win, and I want to dedicate this win to Cedric Alexander's girlfriend, Alicia Fox. It was cocky, his delivery was good. He's like, I'm 23 years old and I just cashed the big check. He's like, he is obviously a UFC fan, or understands how Conor McGregor is where Conor McGregor is, because he wouldn't be delivering promos like that otherwise. I thought it was a great move on his part to set himself apart. He has the potential to be a really strong tweener there, because his obviously his comments are a little bit rude, but I thought it was incredible delivery, and I think Noam Dar has a lot of potential. I think he could be the next coming of Randy Orton, if you ask me. They ran a promo for an up-and-coming cruiserweight who actually participated at the Cruiserweight Classic, Mustafa Ali. He's a Pakistani cruiserweight, and he had some great work in his intermatch promo, where he talked about always being booed before he even gets a chance to say a word, just based on where he's from, how he wants to prove everybody wrong, how it doesn't matter what style people wrestle. Great delivery there, and I'm really interested to see where Mustafa Ali fits in the ecosystem that's been the cruiserweights thus far. Brian Kendrick cashed in his rematch against Rich Swann after losing the Cruiserweight Championship last week in the inaugural episode of 205 Live. He would lose. TJ Perkins was on commentary for this one and wouldn't necessarily run interference, but caused Brian to get a little bit distracted. Rich Swann hit the super kick, getting the pin 1-2-3 to retain the championship. A little bit of a brawl will kind of ensue between Brian Kendrick and TJP, where Rich Swann would try and intervene, but TJP would unintentionally kick Rich Swann in the head, leaving things a little bit of a mess. Brian Kendrick standing tall with the belt at the end of the night, but without holding the championship. All in all, 205 Live had another good little episode. It's an hour long, and it kind of just like, there's not a lot of time to develop a real story other than the main, like, other than the championship story. But 205 Live has been fine thus far. If you like the Cruiserweight Classic, 205 Live, check it out if you can. And Austin Aries, Mauro Ranallo, and Corey Graves as the announce team is incredible. Worth checking it out specifically for those three. And that's going to do it for this episode of the Hot Tag. A couple things first before we go. So, from TLC, so we did TLC stream this past Sunday on Twitch. It went very, very well. Really had a great time with everybody who showed up. So if you were there, thanks a lot for watching it along with us. If you're not aware, we do live viewing parties for every WWE pay-per-view, every pay-per-view Sunday, beginning at 7 p.m. Eastern. Currently over on twitch.tv/neveroverlive. If you joined us and you made your way over to here, thank you so much for making the transition over here. We'll be back on YouTube live streaming in a couple months. But unfortunately, the bad news about all that is we lost our recording of the stream from WWETLC. So, for the time being, we will unfortunately not be able to upload any of our reaction videos to the YouTube channel, which is typically an aspect that we very much look forward to doing. I was actually going to do a supercut of all of our reactions, so that way you could have like a quick 20-minute video of everything on the main talking points, as well as a TLC recap. So, at this point, you're probably well aware of what happened at WWE TLC. Yeah, unfortunately, we lost the recording, so we were unable to upload any TLC-specific reactions this time around. All the more reason to join us every Sunday, pay-per-view Sunday, particularly this the next pay-per-view that happens next Sunday, December 18th, WWE Roadblock End of the Line, Raw's next brand-exclusive pay-per-view, in which the main event is Kevin Owens defending his Universal Championship against Roman Reigns. Join us over on twitch.tv/neveroverlive. Our pre-show starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. Live viewing party. You can watch the pay-per-view with us. We keep a low latency stream, so that way you're kind of relatively synced up with us, which kind of makes it kind of fun. And also you'll have an opportunity to participate in our Never Over Live People's Championship poll. We had our first, not only our first ever individual Never Over Live People's Champion this past weekend at TLC, but we had the first ever Never Over Live Undisputed People's Champion. And that was Sleeping Angels. He managed to correctly predict all 6 matches that occurred at WWETLC. And do you want the opportunity to see your name in our overlay, not only here, but during our live stream as well? We'll make sure that you fill out our Never Over Live predictions poll when they come out every Wednesday. Just like I'll have the link ready for you in Hot Tag next Wednesday for WWE Roadblock End of the Line. That way you can get your picks in. If you think you can book better than us, because we have a great time back there. We have a phenomenal time, and we want to make you guys a part of that as well. So make sure that you're keep it locked right here on YouTube for next week's Hot Tag video, where I will be releasing the poll link, and that way you guys can submit your picks for WWE Roadblock End of the Line. Until then, guys, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Make sure that you make a note as to when our content will be up next week. In particular, we had to move our Wrestle Recap podcast to Friday because we're going to see Star Wars Rogue One next Thursday night. And so we'll have a little bit to talk about probably on the Wrestle Recap podcast, as well as our Roadblock predictions will be occurring next week and next Friday as well. So make sure that you join us there. Tomorrow, we'll be over on twitch.tv/neveroverlive with our Wrestle Recap podcast number 7, in which we'll talk a little bit about Raw and SmackDown as well, and talk about some developments behind the scenes. And that will be live on Twitch and then uploaded to YouTube, so you'll see it here regardless. But thank you so much for joining me for Hot Tag, guys. Let me know what you guys thought about WWE this week. Do you guys think it was good? I personally thought Raw was better than SmackDown, which is something I never thought I would say in 2016. I thought SmackDown was on an incredible roll, and now we're here. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Until then, guys, thank you so much for joining me for WWE Hot Tag, and we'll see you next time.